that conflict could have dire effects on Africa's agricultural markets. Experts saying the war represents upside risks to both countries because they make significant contributions to global exports of wheat, maize and sunflower oil. To help us understand exactly what these developments mean and how they're likely to impact us here in Africa, we're joined by agricultural economist Wandile Sihlobo, who joins us via the virtual platform. Mr. Sihlobo, thank you very much for your time. Let me digress just a little bit and ask you for your expectations. These numbers are going to come out. These are GDP numbers. The agricultural sector, I was just talking to Kopano moments ago, and I think she did count the agricultural sector as one of those that is always looked to for better than expected performance.
Absolutely, Tolly. You will recall that during the height of COVID, agriculture was one of those sectors that performed well. 2020, for example, we came out with just around about 13.4% growth for that year. Of course, for last year, which is 2021, in the third quarter, we did take a hit. There were issues of base effects, but also the fact that the third quarter is generally a quiet period in South Africa's agriculture. But in our view at the Agriculture Business Chamber is that the numbers that will come up for the fourth quarter will be positive to an extent that for a full year agriculture economic performance, we could see a number around about 4% or so. That's the view that we're sitting with at this point. And of course, clearly, these are historic numbers. We have already seen the improvement in as far as the output and the exports for 2021. It was indeed a fantastic year overall for agriculture, even though there are wine industries and a few that still feel the tail end of the ban on the alcohol sales.
Yeah, all right. So a positive picture in terms of your expectations, specifically around the agricultural sector. However, is there anything positive to speak about when we look further afield to what is happening in Russia and Ukraine? The understanding is that both these countries are significant contributors when it comes to the agricultural sector's performance in the continent of Africa.
Absolutely, Dolly. I mean, if you look at it from an Africa perspective, these are countries that supply us, as you rightly say, large volumes of wheat, sunflower oil and palm oil, as they are as equally important to the global market. Because just to get a sense of it, Russia, Ukraine combined makes up about 30% or so of global wheat exports. Same number for barley, nearly 60% for sunflower oil. So as the import-dependent continent for these products, we will feel the impact in the near term through the price transmission. And this is not going to be unique for us. For everyone in the world, those commodity prices are starting to rise. But I think if then the war continues for longer and there's a lot of disruption in infrastructure, there are certain countries that are dependent a lot even about the physical supplies, the likes of Egypt, Tunisia, Kenya, East Africa, that could struggle. But I would say us at home will feel the impact more prices other than the limitation of the commodity supplies per se.
Let's look inwardly, if we can, Wandile, South Africa and its trade relations with these two countries. Let's start with Russia. What does it supply us with, and how affected has that been thus far as a result of the ongoing war?
The most important product we get from Russia, actually, from a consumption perspective, it's wheat. I mean, they are supplying us, if you were to take the past 5 years and you say on average, what have we been getting the lot? We've been getting wheat, and of the 1.8 million tons of wheat that we get a year, we've been getting about 34% of it from Russia. And if you were just to quickly loop in Ukraine, 4% Ukraine. So Ukraine less important for wheat, but Russia more important on that. But at the moment, we do have other destinations at where we source wheat from. If you think of the likes of Australia, parts of the EU, Argentina. Those are some of the markets. But regardless if then we will be getting the commodity from Ukraine and Russia or not, but the price increases that we are seeing in the global market because of the disruption that is happening there is the one factor that we are all feeling, and that's what will hit the South African consumers, at least in the coming months.
Yeah, all right. Let me lump two questions in one then as we close the conversation. Ukraine, what do they supply us with mostly? And finally, therefore, exactly what you've just pointed to, and that is the global prices of food may likely skyrocket, and that is the warning if this war continues any longer.
Yes, Tole. From as far as Ukraine, the larger part of what we get from them is sunflower oil and wheat, as I've mentioned on that. But perhaps I may take this opportunity to make a point about fertilizer, which is an important product that I've been included, because Russia, Tole, as you know, is a leading exporter of fertilizer in the world, constituting about 14% of global fertilizer exports. So while we've been talking a lot about the products, but on the farming inputs side, they are also rising double digit. And I think that for farmers, when it comes to September later this year to plant their crops, that's where they will feel the pressure, while those that manage to harvest a bit of grain will be able to benefit at least from these higher prices. So things will cancel off. But of course, we can never totally speak and forget the people in the fruit sector, where they are exporting 7% of their oranges exports go to Russia, 12% apples and pears go to that part of the world as well. So that disruption, it also means that South African fruit exporters are also negatively impacted in that. So it's a very tough situation of heightened uncertainty in the food market and, of course, farming inputs.
Agricultural economist Wandile Sihlobo, thank you very much for that update. I did tell you, he knows about agriculture. He knows more than you and me. Thank you very much indeed for those insights.